HaKadosh Baruch Shalom Aleichem Malachei Yasharet Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Amlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shalom Aleichem Malachei Yasharet Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Amlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Hai dai 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 HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shabbat Shalom. It is wonderful to see everybody on this Shabbat, to welcome those of you who are joining us here from home. We welcome you as well. And tonight we are delighted, after services, for those who are in the congregation, to be able to have the opportunity to meet Rabbi David Reinhardt, who is visiting us this Shabbat. He will be joining us in July as our new associate rabbi. And at this time, if you are at home and you want to light candles with us or have a glass of wine for Kiddush, we invite you to do so at this time. And we're on page 121. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. So we welcome in the light and the warmth and the peace of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. And on page 123 in your Siddurim, those in the congregation, if you wish to stand, elevating yourself to a higher plane of holiness at this time. Those of you at home, if you wish to stand, please do so. If you don't have wine at home, try anything that represents the spirit, the Ruach l'Shabbat, and the sweetness of Shabbat, as we sing together on page 123, the Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodesho be'ahav v'ratzon kinechilanu zikaro lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom techiro למגרועי קודש, זכר לציון מצרים, קיוונו ואותו ואותנו גירשת מכל בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. And we say together, L'chaim.
So I begin with a sort of strange or weird, but one of those, at least for a rabbi, an awesome parenting moment. So our family just returned from a very quick trip to Ireland. We returned on Wednesday evening. And on Sunday through Tuesday, we were on a whirlwind driving tour, visiting a lot of sites. And randomly on Sunday while we're driving, and keeping in mind it is very much spring, and clearly the lambing season has happened. There are lots of baby lambs. There are lots of baby cows. Sadie says, out of the blue, "What happens when they find the red cow?" I'm sitting next to her in the car, and I turned to her and said, "What are you talking about?" "Well, Mom, look at all these cows." And they do look different than cows here. They're a little bit hairier and fuzzier looking. And what happens when they find the red cow? "Are you talking about the red heifer in the Torah?" "Yeah, that's the cow I'm talking about. What happens when they find the red cow?" "What do you mean what happens? Nothing happens." "What do you mean nothing happens? We read about it in the Torah." "Well, if they find it, nothing happens until the temple is rebuilt. They can have the cow, but they can't do anything with it." I turned to her and said, "Why are you thinking of this right now?" "Well, there's so many cows, and they're all different colors, and maybe they found the red cow." So why do I share this story with you? And yes, it was a moment of, why are you thinking of this? And then I had to remind myself, she goes to summer camp, Jewish summer camp. And when you go to Jewish summer camp, it's highly likely that the 4 weeks that you are at Jewish summer camp, we'll say 4 to 6 Torah portions that come up given how the Jewish calendar moves, after years and years of summer camp, you know those Torah portions because you hear them read, and if nothing else, you hear the faculty, whoever's on camp, giving a drash or a speech about that Torah portion. So that's how she knows about the red cow, Parashat Chukat, which always happens during the summer. This week, why do I bring it up? I get home, I look at the calendar. It's Shabbat Parah. Parah means cow in Hebrew. So during this week, she's thinking of cows. And specifically, Shabbat Parah, we talk about that red heifer. So somehow, not a coincidence, she had that red cow on the brain. Shabbat Parah literally means Shabbat of the cow or Shabbat of the red heifer, because it's really about that heifer. It occurs on the Shabbat that is prior to, some say Shabbat Mevarchim, but because Shabbat HaChodesh, when the new month of Nisan will happens on Shabbat, this Shabbat is the Shabbat in which we announce the upcoming month of Nisan. And this is the Shabbat that reminds us that we have to start preparing for Passover. I'll make that connection in a moment. So we do have a regular Torah reading. It is Parashat Shmini. And in the Maftir section, we read in Numbers 19, 1 through 22. This text deals with the red heifer whose ashes were combined with water to ritually purify anyone who had been in contact with a dead person. In ancient times, when sacrifices were still observed at the temple in Jerusalem, only people who were ritually pure could eat of the Passover sacrifice. A corpse, a dead body, was considered something that would render you impure, and because it's ancient times, it's highly likely you might have come into contact with a dead body. And so through the ritual of the red heifer, people could purify themselves in order to be prepared for Passover. So Shabbat Parah was the public announcement that came right before Passover, reminding anyone who is impure to get ready to purify themselves before making the Passover pilgrimage to Jerusalem. What do we do with this today? Probably thinking, what does it even mean to be ritually impure? We don't have the Passover sacrifice. We don't even have a temple like they did. However, what I take from this idea that this Shabbat is announcing, we tonight are announcing we are 3 weeks. 3 weeks from tonight is the start of Passover. If you're like me, earlier this week when somebody said it was in 3 weeks, I went like this and wanted to go, la, 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 la. No, I'm not ready. However, what I think this tells us is that we are meant to prepare for our holy days. We're not just meant to show up at the Seder and say, I'm here, let's do Passover, and then assume that we just take it all in and we experience holiness and experience something grand. Rather, just as we do at the month of Elul, how Elul prepares us for the holy days, for Rosh Hashanah, for Yom Kippur, Shabbat Parah reminds us, you have 3 weeks. Obviously, 3 weeks isn't about us preparing ourselves to be ritually pure. What are we doing? We have 3 weeks to prepare our homes. We have 3 weeks to prepare ourselves, our minds, our souls, to say, when we move to that Seder table, we're ready to tell the story. We're ready to take it in. It allows us to be mentally and physically prepared and to prepare our space. So being prepared for Passover is so important that the Torah provides us with a solution for those who are ritually impure. So if I was ritually impure and I cannot do that ritual before Passover comes and I miss the Passover sacrifice, the Torah lets us know that there is a second opportunity. There is a Passover Sheni, a second Passover, about a month later, where if I missed it the first time, I can get it the second time. We don't have that opportunity. I guess we could institute it if we wanted to, but we have Passover 3 weeks from today. So next Shabbat is Shabbat HaChodesh. We announce the beginning of the month of Nisan. The following Shabbat is Shabbat HaGadol, the great Shabbat. And this is the Shabbat in which, once again, we are reminded of the do's and the don'ts, the laws of Passover that remind us you have 1 week to make sure that you get all of this done. And what I think ultimately that this Torah portion reminds us is that holy and spiritual moments don't just happen. Occasionally we might have a moment of awe, but when we are trying to experience God, when we are trying to experience our tradition, this is what ritual is about. Ritual prepares us for that moment. Ultimately, if you think about it, we get out of it what we put into it. So when we prepare our hearts and our souls for Passover, when we come to the table for that first Seder, we are ready to be fully and wholly present to experience that moment of freedom. And so on this Shabbat, 3 weeks away, we breathe, we take a breath, we center ourselves, and maybe what we do this year is we think about, what is it that I want to get out of Passover this year? How often do we stop and even ask ourselves that? Instead, we're focused on the brisket, we're focused on the sides, we're focused on what do I want to get out of the experience of celebrating Passover this year? That is what this Shabbat is about, Shabbat Parah, preparing ourselves, purifying our hearts and minds. And so when this Shabbat is over, hopefully you'll have that image in your mind of what you want to experience this year. And when Shabbat is over, you'll work to make it happen. You'll work to make it come to be. Shabbat Shalom. And before we turn to page 379 in our prayer books, and I'm going to ask everybody to rise as we welcome in or say the blessing for the new month. Our God and God of our ancestors, may the new month bring us goodness and blessing. May we have long life, peace, prosperity, a life exalted by love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our hearts are fulfilled for good. Rosh Chodesh Nisan Yihiyeh B'Yom Shabbat Haba. The new month of Nisan will begin on the Shabbat that comes. And to that we say, Amen. And you may be seated. You'll stand again later when we get to the end, the last stanza of Lecha Dodi, a little Shabbat calisthenics, as we turn to page 138 and 39 for Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikavela. Shemo v'zechor b'ribur echad, Ikmianu Elam Yuchad, Adonai Echad, U'Shemo Echad, V'Shemo Tiferet Ve'Tila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikavela. Lechu v'nelcha, Mekol haberacha, Merosh mikedem netzucha, Zo ma'aseh v'machshavat tefila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikavela. Roi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, Gam b'simcha u'v'tzola, Toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, Lecha Dodi B'nai Shabbat nikabela. Lechad oti likrat kala. B'nai Shabbat nikabela. Lechad oti likrat kala. B'nai Shabbat nikabela. Lechad oti likrat kala. B'nai Shabbat nikabela.
And we remain standing as we turn to page 146 for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed.
And we turn to page 148 and we join together in the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, bore yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, b'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi laila, umavdil bein yom uvein laila, Adonai tzivaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. And on page 151, we read together at the top of the page. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
And on page 152, if we pause for just a moment, take a breath and close our mechanisms just for a minute and contemplate that first word of this prayer, Shema, Shema. To not just hear, but to listen to your senses. And when you close your mechanism, you become in tune with those senses. Shh, quiet. You vocalize and feel vibration, and you release that energy. Part of your soul releases into the universe. Shh. And we sing together. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malechuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. At the top of page 154, we chant together Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha uvechol nafshecha uvechol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, וברכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אמת.
Page 157, we read together at the top of the page. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Page 158.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא דגילו. עושה פלא, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא דגילו. עושה פלא מלכותך, ובניך בוגי הים, משמי משה ומרים, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני לא לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא דגילו. עושה פלא ונאמר כפתה, אדוני את יעקב, יעלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גדול ישראל. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא דגילו. עושה פלא, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש.
And we continue on page 160 with Hashkiveno.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim Let there be love, guard us with peace, strength and compassion for all in need. Shield us from hate, illness, and war. Watch over us as we go forth. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim Fill us with hope, grace, and truth. May we all return to you. Keep us safe tonight. May we rise in a new light. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim
And as we prepare for the Amidah, we turn to page 163.
A thought has blown the marketplace away. There's a song on the wind and a joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night, and eternity utters a day, and eternity utters a day. Adonai, Svatai, Svatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagit Hiladecha. Adonai, Svatai, Svatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagit Hiladecha. A thought has blown the marketplace away. There's a song on the wind and a joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night, and eternity utters a day, and eternity utters a day. Adonai, Svatai, Svatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagit Hiladecha. Adonai, Svatai, Svatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagit Hiladecha. Page 166. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor veHanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot veImahot, Umevi Geula Liveneihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Ata Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'ezrat Sarah, page 168, Ata Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atarav LeHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Zomech Noflim V'Rofech Horim, U'Matir Asurim, Umekayem emunato kishenei afar. Bichamocha ba'al gevurot umidomeroch. Melech memit umechaye umatz mi'ach Yeshua v'ne'eman ata le'achayot hakol. Baruch ata Adonai mechaye hakol. Page 170. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalaluhu chatzela. Baruch ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
You may be seated. And we turn in our prayer books to page 177. And as our week comes to an end and as we welcome in Shabbat, we think of the week that has been, and we take a moment to reflect on the week and find one moment of gratitude, one moment where you can say, I am thankful this happened during the week. Hold that moment in your thoughts as we join together. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. And we turn in our prayer books to page 376, 377, where we'll find a prayer for our country followed by a prayer for the state of Israel. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen. And as we turn to the prayer for the state of Israel, we also think this week of the good that Israel is doing in the world with the field hospital that has been built at the borders of Ukraine and all of the work that Israel has been doing to help. As we join together, O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love, Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. And we turn our hearts and our thoughts towards those in Ukraine. I don't know what's been on the news here for the past week, but I will tell you that when we drove into Dublin, I was shocked. Every light post had a Ukrainian flag. Every storefront had a sign about peace in Ukraine. And at night, not only were government buildings lit up with blue and yellow lights, St. Patrick's Cathedral was lit up in blue and yellow. And so around the world, Ukraine is front and center in the hearts of so many people. And so a prayer for Ukraine by Alden Salovey. God of all, protector and redeemer, watch over the people of the Ukraine as their land is invaded once again and war returns to the land. Grant them safety and security, independence, freedom, and peace. Watch over the soldiers forced into combat to defend the nation and to protect their land and their homes. God of peace, bring a speedy end to this conflict and full restoration of the sovereignty to Ukraine. Bring an end to all war, conflict, and strife, so that your promise of peace is fulfilled. Amen. And we turn our hearts and our thoughts now to those who are in need of healing, certainly those around the world who are in need of healing, but so too those closer to our homes and in our hearts, our friends and our loved ones. And tonight, if you are thinking of someone who is in need of healing and you would like to call their name aloud and send their name out into the universe, into the heavens, I ask you now to please rise, and together we will call all of those names aloud. We take all of those names into our hearts, and may God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit as we join together in Misha Berach, our prayer for healing.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBeracha V'Imotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBeracha Lehavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
And we take a moment for silent and personal prayer.
עושה שלום במרומיו, עושה שלום במרומיו, עושה שלום במרומיו, עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, עושה שלום במרומיו, עושה שלום במרומיו, עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן, אמן, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. So many familiar faces that I'm looking at. I am honored and feel privileged to be on the bima to give you the announcements for next week. Tomorrow at UH, Torah study begins at 9 a.m. in the chapel or via Zoom. Shabbat morning services at 10:30 a.m. via live stream. Musar class at 12:30 p.m. in the chapel or via Zoom. At 6 o'clock p.m., we usher out Shabbat with New Week Now via live stream. Upcoming events, now write this down. March 31st through April 2nd, United Hebrew is excited to welcome artists in residence Dan Nichols and Alan Goodis. Join our liturist I didn't get to read this beforehand. In residence, Alden Solovdi, verse of Seder, a rebellious exploration of the Haggadah, on Wednesday, March 30th at 6:30 p.m. Register on UH website. On Sunday, April 10th at 9 o'clock a.m. is Build Your Jewish Toolbox, Sacred Text. Join us for Passover First Night Seder at UH on Friday, April 15th at 6 o'clock p.m. For additional information on other upcoming classes and programs, please visit the UH website. Thank you to our tech team for making it possible for all of us to be together virtually tonight. The gift shop is open on Sundays when religious school is in session from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and by appointment. And before I leave you all, I want to introduce, he's a congregant tonight, our upcoming rabbi, I guess it's official in July, Dr. David Reinhardt is here, and we're really happy to have you. Just raise your hand so people can see you. Thank you.
March 30th, this Wednesday. It'll help you prepare for Passover, the class with Alden, the subversive Seder. So put that on your calendars as the beginning of your Pesach prep, unless you're really good and you've already started. Sherilyn? Yeah. So you too can begin. We turn to page 586 as we rise now for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 591. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. And we turn to page 595. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. This Shabbat, the heartfelt condolences of our congregation go out to the families of Stephanie Nepper, Carolyn Madalif, Janice Trachtman. We are in the period of Shloshim for Richard Bear, Elizabeth Couples, Diane E. Ezel, Ethel Gentle, Sandra R. Sanders, David Charles Silverman, Brian Scott Suffian. This week, the Shabbat, we observe the yahrzeits and we lovingly remember Marie Axelrod, Eva Oaks Beckerman, Betty Tureen Berger, Cecil Block, Bertie Block, Esther Block, Harold Blumenau, Celia Bly, Aranka Bohm, Isabella Brash, Max Broder, Frida Bronson, Selma Kopelevitz, Ricky Kovitz, Louis H. Kranis, Jenny Durfeld, Morris Edinger, Ann Feinberg, Viola B. Feit, Marion S. Fleischman, Frank Flotkin, Rebecca Rothstein-Fox, Nellie Fudenberg, Rose German, Dora Gentle, David Goldenhirsch, Irvin Goldberg, Anita I. Grossman, Lillian Hammerman, Florence J. Harris, Audrey Yavitz Hirsch, Ella Hone, Chaya Isaac, Shirley Katz Kardish, Meyer Clayman, Louis Kopman, Jerry S. LaBelle, Anna Manlin, Anita B. Marion, Morris M. Moss, Frida Neufeld, Florence Newman, Hattie Neiman, Albert M. Oglander, Martin Rodenberg, Tibetta Diane Rowe, Esther Roselman, Natalie Rosenblum, Stanley E. Rosenfeld, Clara Rudman, Rose Rubin, Max Rudner, Francis Frank Sikowski, Giddel Satz, Benjamin J. Schramm, Francis G. Shapiro, Murray L. Schechtman, Marie Samuelson Sherman, Esther Rothman Surratt, Morris Stein, Sonia Stein, Henrietta M. Strauss, Sarah Torgove, Otto A. Weber, Lena Weniker, Gussie Wexler, Samuel H. Wilson, Barbara G. Wolf. Zichronam livracha, may each of their memories be for blessing as we turn to page 598 and we rise for the recitation of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal ve'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah. Bi'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute. V'chayechon uvyomechon. Uvachaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehe Shemei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Olmei Almaya. Yit Barach v'yishtabach v'yit Pa'ar v'yit Romam v'yit Naseh. V'yit Hadar v'yit Aleh v'yit Halal Shemei Dekudasha Barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata, damiram be'alma ve'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. And on this Shabbat, Shabbat Parah, also Shabbat Shmini, in which we read the story of Nadav and Avihu, a little bit of their exuberance as they go to the tabernacle and do things a little bit incorrectly. But we think about the world around us. Yes, part of our world is in turmoil, and yet we also think that so much there is that we have control over, in terms of the fact how we connect with each other, how we connect with the world around us. And so tonight as we end with a blessing of peace. Od yavo shalom, that peace will come, and we have the power to make it so.
Ojavo shalom aleinu, Ojavo shalom aleinu, Ojavo shalom aleinu, ve'al kulam. Ojavo shalom aleinu, Ojavo shalom aleinu, Ojavo shalom aleinu, ve'al kulam. Salem. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam, salam, salam, salam. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam, salam, salam. Ojavo shalom aleinu, Ojavo shalom aleinu, Ojavo shalom aleinu, ve'al kulam. Ojavo shalom aleinu, Ojavo shalom aleinu, Ojavo shalom aleinu, ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam, salam, salam, salam. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam, salam, salam. Ojavo shalom aleinu, Ojavo shalom aleinu, Ojavo shalom aleinu, Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.